Kurt, what you're gonna do today to your podcast is going to cover the world is flat presentation. Okay.
Because the syllabus is the syllabus is on the entire book.
Oh, okay. So what's your course curricula that you created or you're developing?
Yep.
As I'm looking at it now, you've got like several pages of syllabus here that have been put together.
Yes.
And it's, my goodness, it goes on for
Yeah.
quite a few pages. I notice you've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 slides. And so the course structure that you're talking about putting together is all based upon The World is Flat by Thomas Friedman.
Yes.
Okay. Well, why don't you start talking to us a little bit about it?
Patrick, I chose to review the book, also not only review it, but to write it in a syllabus, to teach the material as well to adult students in an educational setting for one semester. The main idea of this process is whether or not the world is truly flat is just in my imagination. It is my belief the world is truly flat, and to test this theory, we will explore this book to the fullest. One question we will ask ourselves, as being an American, as Friedman states, I am focused on the U.S. and how do we go about maximizing the benefits and opportunities of the flat world. Friedman offers compassionate flatism, which is a blended policy built around 5 categories of action for an age of flat. 1. Leadership. 2. Muscle building. 3. Cushioning. 4. Social activities. And the 5th is parenting. These are the areas which we will discuss efficiently, effectively, and equitably through the course of one semester's class. The students will walk away with these items clarified in their mind using their innate ability of Freeman's work.
Okay, well, Kurt, that sounds really great. So now what I understand you want to cover is in more detail the 5 categories that you just spoke about.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Well, let's get started with that then.
The first flattener is leadership. The job of the politicians in America, whether at the local, state, or national level, should be, in good part, to help educate and explain to the people what world they are living in and what they need to do if they want to thrive within it. One problem we have today, many American politicians don't seem to have a clue about flat world. A venture capitalist, John Drury, once remarked to me, meaning Friedman, you talk to the leaders in China and they are all the engineers and they get what is going on immediately. The Americans don't because they are all lawyers, added Bill Gates. The Chinese have risk taking down, hard work down, education, and when you meet the Chinese politicians, they are all scientists and engineers. However, Friedman is not allocating that all Americans should become politicians, all politicians should become have engineering degrees. But it would be helpful if they had a basic understanding of the forces that are flattening the world and were able to educate the constituents about them and galvanize a response.
Okay, well, Kurt, I understand the next thing you're going to cover is muscles.
Yes, muscles. Since lifetime employment is a form of fat that a flat world simply cannot sustain any longer, Passionate flatism seeks to focus its energies on how government and business can enhance every worker's lifetime employability. Lifetime employment depends on preserving a lot of fat. Lifetime employability requires replacing that fat with muscle. The muscles workers need most are portable benefits and opportunities for lifelong learning. Why these two? Because they are the most important assets in making a workers mobile and adaptable. They create legal and institutional framework for universal portability of pensions and health care, in addition to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, will help people build up such muscles. William Marshall, president of the Progressive Policy Institute, says, and he says, why do we need these muscles? And his answer to the question is because there is an increasing body of literature that says people who are stakeholders, people who have a slice of the pie, are more deeply invested in our system of democratic capitalism and the policies that keep it dynamic.
Okay, Kurt. So I think I'm getting it. The next thing you're going to talk about now is, I suppose, good fat and cushions worth keeping?
Yes, cushions. While many of the old corporate and government safety nets will vanish under global competition in the flat world, some fat still needs to be maintained and even added. As everyone who worries about his or her health knows, there is good fat and bad fat, but everybody needs some fat. This is also true of every country in the flat world. Social Security is good fat. We need to keep it. A welfare system that discourages people from working is bad fat. The sort of good fat that actually needs to be added for a flat world is wage insurance. Losing a job for any reason is a trauma for the worker and his or her family, but particularly for older workers who are less able to adapt to the new production techniques or like the education to move up into more skilled service jobs.
Okay, Kurt. So I guess the next section you're going to cover is social activism. Is that right?
Yes. One new area that is going to need sorting out in the relationship between global corporations and their own moral consciousness. Some may laugh at the notion that a global corporation even has a moral conscience or should even be expected to develop one. But some do, and others are going to have to develop one for a simple reason. In the flat world, with longer global supply chains, the balance of power between global companies and the individual communities in which they operate is tilting more and more in favor of the companies, many of them American based. Social and environmental activists and progressive companies can now collaborate in ways that make both the companies more profitable and the flat earth more livable. Compassionate flatism believes that there is no time to be sitting on one's hands, thinking exclusively in traditional left right, consumer versus company terms. Instead, we should be thinking about how collaboration between consumers and companies can provide an enormous amount of protection against the worst features of flattening of the world without opting for classical protectionism.
Okay, well, Kurt, I guess that pretty well covers social activism.
Yes,
And so now the next thing you're going to speak to is parenting, and I understand this is the last topic in this series.
yes, it is. Parenting. No discussion of compassionate flatism would be complete without also discussing the need for improving parenting. Helping individuals adapt to a flat world is not only the job of governments and companies, it is also the job of parents. They too need to know in what world their kids are growing up and what it will take for them to thrive. Putting simply, we need a new generation of parents ready to administer tough love. There comes a time when you've got to put away the Game Boy, turn off the television set, put away the iPod, and get your kids down to work. I repeat, this is not a test. This is a crisis. And as Paul Romer has so perceptively warned, and I quote, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste, end quotes.
Okay, so Kurt, great presentation. Do you have something you want to bring to the table in terms of a wrap up?
Being an American, I am focused on the USA and how do we go about maximizing the benefits and opportunities of the flat world. I offer compassionate flatism, which is a blended policy built around 5 categories of action for the age of flat. And they are leadership, muscle building, cushioning, social activism, and parenting.